Hi, Dr. William Davis here, author of The Wheat Belly and Undoctored books. Here are 10 reasons why you should never eat gluten-free foods. Now, you can be gluten-free if you have celiac disease, for instance. You have to be gluten-free, but don't fall for the garbage that's sold as gluten-free processed foods, because there are 4 common ingredients in these foods: cornstarch, rice flour, tapioca starch, and potato flour, which are horrible for you. So let's go through these 10 reasons. There's actually more than 10 reasons. But these are the top 10 reasons why no human being should be consuming gluten-free processed foods. Number 1, gluten-free foods raise blood sugar higher than all other foods. Higher than table sugar, higher than candy bars, higher than honey or maple syrup or high fructose corn syrup, higher than anything else there is. Gluten-free foods raise blood sugar higher. 2, gluten-free foods cause resistance to insulin, insulin resistance. That is, your body doesn't respond to insulin. That's the process that leads to type 2 diabetes and weight gain as well. 3, gluten-free foods can reactivate celiac disease and other gluten-sensitive states. And that's because even though gluten-free foods may be gluten-free, they often contain cornstarch, and cornstarch contains residues of the zein protein of corn that cross-reacts just like gliadin. It can recreate many of the same responses that you get from gliadin within gluten with the zein protein. Also, there's wheat germ agglutinin in rice products. It's called wheat germ agglutinin even though it's in rice because it's the very same protein. It's very toxic to the gastrointestinal tract. 4, gluten-free foods provoke formation of small LDL particles. That's the thing that causes heart disease, not the silly idea of high cholesterol. That's a big pharma version. I call it the kindergarten version of heart disease causation. No, it's small LDL particles triggered by the amylopectin and sugars of gluten-free foods. 5, gluten-free foods send triglycerides through the roof. And that begins a whole cascade of undesirable phenomena in the bloodstream, including the formation of those small LDL particles. That comes from excess triglycerides in the bloodstream. 6, gluten-free foods cause an exaggeration of what are called postprandial lipoprotein abnormalities. What that means is we eat a meal and we flood our bloodstream with the byproducts of that meal, particles like chylomicrons and VLDL particles, and gluten-free foods cause a much larger rise in those postprandial lipoproteins. That's how heart disease is caused, in addition to the small LDL particles. So heart disease is caused in the postprandial period, and gluten-free foods exaggerate those abnormalities. 7, gluten-free foods cause or contribute substantially to fatty liver, because the triglycerides that are manufactured in your liver, some of them don't get out of the liver. They stay in the liver for unclear reasons, and they accumulate. And that leads to fatty liver, which leads to cirrhosis and liver failure from gluten-free foods. 8, gluten-free foods are very destructive in their effects on bowel flora. For instance, it encourages small intestinal fungal overgrowth, as well as unhealthy changes in the bacterial profile of bowel flora. That's why a lot of grain-consuming people have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. 9, gluten-free foods contribute to tooth decay because the sugars are rapidly metabolized and they cause changes in the oral flora and cause tooth decay, gingivitis, etc. 10, gluten-free foods accelerate aging. And the reason for that is those carbohydrates and sugars in gluten-free foods cause glycation of proteins in the body. That is, irreversible reactions called glycation that are responsible for such effects as cataracts, opacities in the eyes, for deterioration of cartilage in your joint and in your hips and knees, and that's what leads to bone-on-bone arthritis, skin aging. So in other words, the high blood sugars, high blood glucose, causes extravagant glycation, which in turn accelerates aging. So gluten-free foods cause accelerated aging. So those are the top 10 reasons why in the wheat belly lifestyle, people think it's gluten-free, but we're not gluten-free. We're grain-free. You can be gluten-free in addition if you want. Just don't fall into the trap of eating those gluten-free processed foods that are horrible for you.